the direction that we're heading. It's like one of those things you're trying to tell people, but nobody listens. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on. Welcome to the end of the world as we know it, might I add. Welcome to the end. Massive armadas heading towards Iran, World War III, Ukraine, and civil war. Now, look, I'm just going to address the elephant in the room, right? I'm going to address the elephant in the room, or if you know where that phrase comes from, it's quite funny. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room, right? Back in 2024, right, before Donald Trump had won the election, and I can't even, honestly, I can't be bothered to share the videos, but the videos are on my YouTube. I did a TikTok video and it's on as a short video, but I've got a screenshot of one of the videos behind me. Back in 2024, before Donald Trump was even elected, I was doing videos and I was saying the United States are going to invade, boots on the ground in Iran, March 2026. Well, it kind of looks like that's going to happen right now, right? You know, kind of. And I can remember at the time people saying, oh, but Sean, Donald Trump's failing in the polls. Donald Trump's not going to get elected again. I was like, really? And even now, as I'm giving you guys hashtag truth bombs, I'm giving you guys truth bombs day in, day out. I'm telling you, I'm not telling you guys, I'm not gaslighting you, right? I'm not gaslighting you about what's happening now. I'm telling everybody, right? I'm telling everybody what's coming in the future. Now, what you guys do with that information is totally up to you. But what is coming in the future is a global conflict on an industrial scale. We are having civil wars on the streets in the United Kingdom. We are having a US-led boots on the ground in Iran. Oh, hang on a minute. Googleinos is saying convicted terrorists standing in Birmingham election to unite Spark Hill. Yeah, actually, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I was just talking about this. Let me get this up real quick. Look, and if you don't think the end is here, if you don't think we're in the end, trust me, guys, we are in the. Where do we go from this? In the United Kingdom, we literally now. And look, how many times have I said this? I said this with Sadiq Khan, right? I said this with Sadiq Khan. Convicted terrorist. And look, guys, if you guys are on TikTok, I'm not. This is not me speculating now. I'm reading this from the Birmingham Live. Okay. Convicted terrorist standing in Birmingham election to unite Spark Hill. Is that his real name? I can't even pronounce this. Former jihadist Shahid Butt. That's his name. Shahid Mabutt. That's his name, guys. I'm not making that up. That's his name there. Look, I'm not making this up. Shahid Mabutt. No, Shahid Butt says his controversial past and life experience would make him an ideal counselor. The end is here. It's done. It's over. There's no going back. There's no great Tommy Robinson march. There's no great voting. It's done. It's a done deal. I don't know. Right now, everybody needs to start thinking about themselves. Honestly, everybody right now needs to start thinking about themselves, because trying to think about the United Kingdom as a kingdom united it's a facade. It's not real. It's not going to happen. Too many lazy people, too many greedy people, too many people making money. Not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Not in a million years. But as Googleinos is right, we have a convicted terrorist standing in the Birmingham elections to unite Spark Hill. So there we are, guys. You know, you can be, listen, the land of the free, the United Kingdom, the land of the free, where you can have, where foreign terrorists can come and live. And if other foreigners want to vote for them, they get to run the country. Forget about the people who live here. They don't matter. Forget about the people who can trace their lineage back to the 11th century. Honestly, a couple of things have happened today, right? A couple of things have happened today to me. First of all, I've looked at all the videos I've done over 2 years ago, telling everybody that the United States are going to go into Iran March 2026. Said that. Loads of videos. Don't believe me? You want to call me out? Go onto my YouTube and just search. Literally, there. They're as clear as day. And I'm talking about it. And some of the things I was saying on those videos as well, you know, the United States are going to do this because they're the only ones who have the naval capacity, because you have to go to Iran via the sea. And guess what? Donald Trump is sending a huge, massive armada to Iran. Turns out, round end of February, they're all going to be in position. So who would have known? Who would have known, ladies and gentlemen, that the armada would have been in there on the beginning of March. So there's your World War III. We've got Ukraine. We've got the conflict in Ukraine that I'm going to briefly touch on. And so when I tell you guys these things that are coming, and they happen, and people are still in the chat, oh, but Sean, there might be a peace deal. There might be a ceasefire. Fuck off. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not in a million years. Not in a million years. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're talking about today. So let me... Oh, and the other thing that happened, sorry. So I can't tell you guys what I do. Oh, Snowdrops, thank you for the roses on TikTok. So I can't tell you guys what I do, but I was talking to somebody today, and something I was trying to get off the ground in Ukraine in 2022. And I was telling the Ukrainians in 2022, we're now in 2026. Of course, you guys know, right? Back in 2022, I was telling the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian government, the government of Ukraine, where the war was going and what they need to invest in. Right now, I was saying, look, forget that technology. This is what you need to be. This is what you need to be doing. They didn't listen to me. Guess what? Now in 2026, I found out that they're wanting the technology that I was presenting to them in 2022. But guess what? The battlefield's moved. The battlefield's changed. It doesn't matter, because if you introduce that technology now, it's obsolete already. You're 4 years late. And this is the problem that I had in my professional career. So I would be advising governments, right? Honestly, I would be advising governments, and they would tell me the problems, and I would tell them the outcome within like 30 seconds. 30 seconds, I would tell them the outcome. I would say, yeah, that's going to happen. And it always did. But they don't want to listen to me, right? They don't want to listen to me. They want to, what they want to do is they want to send off some general to do a fact-finding mission. And it's going to take him 6 months. Then that comes back and he has to write a white paper. That white paper has to be reviewed. Yeah, the whole thing takes, what I do in 30 seconds takes a government over a year. Literally over a year it will take a government to do what I do in 30 seconds. And I just want to talk about aliens, to be fair, guys. Sometimes I just want to talk about aliens, alternate dimensions, crop circles, free energy, and alien re-engineered alien technology. But we can't, can we? Because we are heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale. Right. Listen, I've been waffling too long. I've been waffling too long. Let me start with my opening monologue. So I want to talk about Iran. Yes, I do. I want to talk about Iran. I want to give context and an update on what's happening in Iran. And you guys on TikTok, I will be closing you guys down shortly, a lot quicker than I close the YouTube down, and I'll just be streaming on YouTube. If you want to jump over the Real Raven One on YouTube, you are more than welcome. So here we are. What are we on? 28th of January. January is not even over. Let me take you through one of the most intense moments unfolding on the world stage right now. The escalating standoff between the United States and Iran over its nuclear program. And I've been telling you guys this all along. I've been literally telling you guys exactly when, how, and why it's going to happen. It feels eerily familiar. Back in 2015, the Iran nuclear deal was brokered under President Obama. But President Barack Hussein Obama, great guy, fantastic guy. He was cool. Look, you can say what you want about Obama. He was cool. He's not as cool as Trump, but he was definitely cool. So the Obama nuclear deal in Iran, which curbed, allegedly, Iran's nuclear enrichment program in exchange for sanctions relief, i.e. they gave them a load of money. The President Trump pulled it in 2018, calling it a disaster. The Iran deal's been a disaster. We're gonna pull out of that deal. It's been an absolute disaster. You know, slapped on maximum sanctions and the whole thing unraveled. Iran ramped up their uranium enrichment program to near weapons grade levels. Some people are even saying they got up to 83.7%. So fast forward to today, where we are right now on the 28th, and the stakes are higher than ever. So yesterday when the doomsday clock moved forward, yeah, they're definitely right. They're definitely right. Just hours ago, today, Donald Trump, DJT, I swear to God, honestly, guys, I'm pretty sure he's following me. The language he uses is the language I use. It is. The language Trump uses is the language I use. Trump posted on Truth Social that a massive armada led by the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and bigger than the one sent towards Venezuela, is steaming towards the region, moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. He's warning Tehran, come to the table for a deal, no nuclear weapons, or the next attack will be far worse. He's obviously talking about the attack that happened in, I think it was June 2025, under the codename Midnight Hammer. Sorry, that was the US-led strikes that hammered key Iranian nuclear sites. Trump is saying that time is running out and the fleet is ready to act with speed and violence if necessary. That's like something I would say, right? That is like something, I don't know, maybe there's a cosmic vibe and I'm just tapping into it. Maybe it is. Maybe there's like a cosmic, maybe it's like there's like a cosmic vibe and I'm just tapping into this cosmic vibe and I'm telling you guys what's coming. I don't know. Tehran's response, defiant as you would expect. They've put their forces on high alert. That means they've changed the light bulbs in several facilities. Sorry. We must go to red alert. But Supreme Leader, that means changing the light bulbs. Okay, we must buy red light bulbs. But Supreme Leader, we have been sanctioned. We cannot buy red light bulbs. Right. Well, we must get red marker pen and color in the white light bulbs. But that would be a health and safety hazard. It would be a fire risk. Uncertain times call for uncertain actions, Conrad. Like, maybe that's something they're going to have to do. So defiant, the Iranians have put their forces on. Sorry, I crack myself up sometimes. They've put their forces on high alert. We must change the light bulbs. Sorry. Oh God, I'm done. That's me. I'm done. Sorry, I'm supposed to be. I can't be serious. Honestly, I can't be serious right now. The world's ending, right? The world's ending. We all know it's ending. We've got all these politicians. Oh, but we'll do a deal over there. We'll have this piece of legislation. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Humanity is the nihilistic penguin. We're marching towards war because it's all we know, right? So the Iranians have put their forces on high alert by changing all the light bulbs in the military facilities. They now have red light bulbs. They are warning that any strikes would trigger an all-out war. Now, with that all-out war, what I'm saying is that would mean the activation of sleeper cells across the West. Just blanket sleeper cells activate. That's where I feel it's going. They've also fired back on their social media sites and state news channels in those unmistakable capital letters. This time, any attack is all-out war. A huge poster up in Revolution Square in Iran, mocking the United States fleet. They're probably not going to be mocking them that long. They're probably not going to be mocking him that long. I can remember in the invasion of Iraq in, well, I can't remember it actually because I can remember watching it, but I was actually on the ground. So I remember watching it afterwards. There was this Iraqi, right? And he's saying, there are no foreign tanks in Baghdad. We will destroy infidels and we will fight. And like you can see them behind him, like you can see them firing behind. It was quite funny. So they're threatening, they're mocking the US fleet and promising dire consequences. Iran's foreign minister insists they're open to talks that are mutually beneficial, which I think is fair, but only if sanctions lift first, which I don't think is fair. No negotiations under the barrel of a gun, which I do think is fair. This isn't coming out of nowhere. As a backdrop, you've got to understand the dynamics and the sentiment of the Iranian population, right? The backdrop includes a bloody nationwide protest starting late December after the collapse of the Iranian rial, soaring prices, mass protests met with a brutal crackdown. Now, activists are putting the death toll at well over 5,000, and some high-end estimates are at 30,000. We've heard nothing about that. Where's all the people on the streets? You know all those free Palestinians? You know all those free Palestinian groups? You know, that are like bum 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 bum, and they're all dancing. Where are they? I thought they were all for, saving life and, humanity and, everybody has the right to life. Turns out when up to 30,000 people could have been killed in Iran, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't hear it. Maybe it's not been on the news enough. Trump initially tied his threats to stopping executions of protesters, but now the focus has shifted, as I said it would 2 years ago, has shifted squarely to the nuclear file and Iran's missile capabilities. So, if you guys remember, I've been telling you guys, literally exactly what's coming next. Oh, Mr. has been a member for 4 months. Thank you so much, Mr. Mister, who's resubscribed or become a member. He's saying, I've got a double IPA on today. Oh, that sounds powerful. Listen, I'll let you guys into a little secret. I ran out of alcohol today. I did. I ran out of alcohol, but I ain't going to the shop. You guys remember, right? I've been talking about this. I've been giving you guys the footsteps towards what is coming. And it's not good. It's not. Once I've finished talking about Iran, I'm going to talk briefly about what's happening in Ukraine. And then I'm going to jump onto this and I'm going to tell you guys what is happening what is coming in the United Kingdom. That's what I'm going to say, guys. I'm going to talk about what's coming in the United Kingdom because it is dark. And I have to laugh about it because I've been warning people. Nobody's been listening. And now, all the videos I made 2 years ago telling people exactly what's coming. And people were like, oh, but Sean, Donald Trump's not even being elected yet. Yeah, well, we'll see. Oh, but Sean, Donald Trump's going to have a peace deal within 24 hours. All right, we'll see. Oh, but Sean, Donald Trump's going to be the peaceful president. All right, we'll see. Time's a great vindicator, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is. So here's the congressional muscle behind what's happening today in, I guess it's not happening in Iran, but what's happening in that region. I know I've spoke about this quite a few times, so I'll just rattle through this as quickly as possible. So back in November 2023, and this is why it's all happening, the United States House passed House Resolution 559 by a huge bipartisan margin. 354 votes to 53. It declares, and I quote, It declares outright, so this is the law that was passed in the United States. It declares outright that a nuclear-armed Islamic Republic of Iran is not acceptable and makes it the official US policy to use all means necessary to prevent it, including supporting regional allies like Israel, in their freedom of action. The resolution cited the IAEA warning about Iran's breakout timeline, as in weeks for fissile material, months for a weapon. It's non-binding, but it signals a solid, a rock solid American. There's no arguing basically between Republicans and Democrats. Iran must not develop a nuclear weapon. Now, look, you guys can go down conspiracy lane or what. It doesn't really matter, because you know what? Go down conspiracy lane as much as you want, because you know what's real? Those ships heading to Iran, they're real, all right? As much conspiracy as you want, those ships are real. Here in Britain, we are watching this closely. You know, oil prices have already started to rise on the fears of the disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. The United Kingdom are sending RAF Typhoons to Qatar at Doha's request, and the government is calling for calm. But let's be honest, guys, we have no say in this. As the United Kingdom, we have zero say in this. And this is why it's all being played. It's all a game. It's a game. How did I know this was going to happen 2 years ago? How did I know 2 years ago, before Donald Trump was even elected, that this would happen? How did I know that we would see this spat between Britain and America where, we don't like you and we don't like you and you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing this, this diversions? How did I know that? Do you think I had a crystal ball? I don't. I just have an 8-ball, and it's like really not accurate. Because if you understand the game, you understand the rules, you understand there's only certain time windows to make things happen. Now, I'm going to jump onto the chat, and then I'll give you guys a brief explanation on what's happening in Ukraine right now, because if you live in the United Kingdom, the Ukraine front is going to be your main intent. I'm then going to close you fantastic lockdown on TikTok, and then we will continue on the live stream, and I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to go on the live stream, but listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on, you should all tap yourselves on the back, congratulate yourselves, because you are living through history right now. You absolutely are. You are living through world history. Right now, I promise you guys, you're living through history. Right, I'm just going to jump to the bottom of the chat. Andy is saying, hey, and I'm saying straight back, hey to Andy as well. Eyeball Paul is saying, Keir Starlin is only in China to stick it to Trump. Emma Jane Taylor is saying Starmer making friends with China, the police state and tech enhancement. I saw Keir Starmer come off the airplane. He looked like a little boy lost. He really did. I'd like to take him to Sada City in Baghdad and show him around, really enrich, really give him some cultural enrichment. When I saw Keir Starmer get off this plane into to China, I was shocked. I was shocked on how much of a small boy he looked. He appeared. What Paul is saying, Iran knows they're coming. They have drones following them. Yeah, I would suspect Iran knows they're coming as well. The thing is, you can't really do anything against the weight of the US Air Force, the US Navy, and the US Army. It's pretty much game over. If the United States, which I think they will, I think they're going to play it short and fast. I think they will do limited. They will sit off the coast, and then rather than have this huge initially anyway, rather than have this huge this huge land invasion like Normandy style, what I think they're going to do is they will do surgical strikes, surgical special forces into certain locations, destroying those locations, and then they might take a beachhead. James is saying, I reckon they're getting at least one other aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean. I don't know, but I do know what's coming. Running Bear is saying 10 days of darkness. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? And Andy is saying, 2 Parrot never run out of beer. Oh, God, sorry, mate. I've run out of beer. Sean, have you run out of beer? Are you going to the candy shop? No, I've... So for those of you guys who've been following me, I've got like 150 pints that's not quite ready yet. It's not quite ready. It'll be ready in a couple of, well, I'm hoping it should definitely be ready in a week. But I've pretty much run out. I've pretty much drank myself dry, to be honest. Right, listen, I'm going to jump over to Ukraine. So I've just given everyone a brief update on what's happening in Iran. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about Ukraine real quickly, and then I'm going to come on to the civil conflicts that are going to be on the streets, that are going to be on the streets in the United Kingdom. So people forget what's happening in Ukraine, right? People forget that logistically, it makes no sense. 0 sense. Okay, so sorry, I'm going to talk about Ukraine. Like logistically, the only people with the ships, the only country in the world actually with the ships to invade another country, the size of Iran, is the United States. They're the only ones. No one else has that capability. If NATO, Britain, France, Luxembourg helped, they wouldn't be helping at all. All that would happen is you would dilute that broth because you'd have those political, and I've seen this. Look, remember when Donald Trump the other day, he said NATO troops don't really go on the front line? He wasn't, and I said he's not talking about the British, which he wasn't. I think he said that. I think he did his response because of what I said, because I know he's following me. He's probably got one of those fake accounts. Probably one of those fake accounts that's like user DJT116 or something. I don't know. But again, I went against the grain. I went against what everybody else was saying. I said, no, Donald Trump doesn't actually mean that. And he certainly doesn't mean it about the British. Literally the next day I'd said that, he came and he did like a massive spiel saying the armed forces of the British armed forces will always be with the United States. And that was pretty powerful. I bet there wasn't a dry eye in the room when he said that, some military units. So it makes no sense, basically, for anybody to go and help the United States when they don't need it. You're just going to dilute that broth. For the United States to come into Europe, they're going to have to use the same ships. They're going to have to bring all that stuff over the water, right? So now, this is just logistically, right? This is just stuff, carrying stuff. So everybody wants to think, look, guys, and I'm a teeth arms guy myself. I've always been right at the sharp end. I don't care where it comes from. I just want it right now and let me use it. And I've always been right at the sharp end. But to bring that stuff out, so for the United States, if they were going to get involved in Europe, they would have to ship all that stuff to Europe, right? They would have to ship their Bradleys, they would have to ship their Humvees, their HIMARS, everything. That would all have to come over on by ship, right? So now if you think, if there's a war in Iran and a war in Europe, and the United States are halving their naval capacity, they can only go to Iran with half the naval capacity, right? Because they've only got half the capacity because the other half's gone to Europe. Makes no sense. 0 sense. And then NATO, they're all splitting their capacity up to help the Americans. It makes no sense because then you're doubling your enemies as well, right? What makes more sense is the United States saying, right, we've got all the ships. we've got all the aeroplanes. We'll deal with Iran. Europeans, get your fucking act together, and you guys deal with the Russians. That's what makes more sense, right? Because then NATO, all of a sudden, minus the United States, the Europeans, they don't need massive shipping. They don't need ships and massive boat moves and sea moves. No, they do everything by road. They do everything by truck. They do everything by rail because they're already there. And it's really easy. It's really easy to drive from Poland to Ukraine. It's also really easy, if there's any Germans on here, right, to drive from Germany to Poland. It's easy to drive from Germany to Poland. You see where I'm going, right? You can truck all that stuff and you don't need the masses of heavy logistics by sea. But as the Russian bear keeps clawing forwards in the Donbass mud, which it is every day, ladies and gentlemen, the Russians are taking ground every day. Every inch they seize in eastern Ukraine is just another patch of scorched earth. It's also another inch forwards. It's also one more step dragging British boots closer to the front line. Think about it. Every step the Russians take further west, that is a step closer to British boots on the ground. Because look, let's get real. Let's get real and be real for 1 second. Is anybody under the illusion, right, that there is no emergency plan? That, for example, if the Russians take Kiev, probably on a Friday, that the Western troops are not going to rush in there? Is anybody under the illusion that there's not a plan to do that? And those plans are already, in place, and they don't need parliamentary consent because they've already had parliamentary consent. As soon as certain triggers are met, that's when the boots on the ground deploy. So, like I said before, ladies and gentlemen, every inch seized in eastern Ukraine, it's not just another patch of scorched earth. It's one more step closer to dragging British boots onto the front line. And every mile closer brings the grim shadow of conscription right here at home. And that's the reality that we're facing. So, when I keep ticking these things off, March 2026, Trump, this invasion, that doing, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. People sit there with their, with their head in the sand. Absolutely fine. Keep your head in the sand, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your head in. You know what? Would you rather have your head in the sand and then it just go? Or would you rather know it's coming? I don't know. Maybe some people would rather have their head in the sand. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining me for the first time, in fact, first of all, if you've not done so already, make sure you hit those buttons down below. I know my camera's really out of focus today, isn't it? If you've not done so already today, ladies and gentlemen, please hit that button. The like, follow, subscribe, those buttons down below, whatever they are. I think there's a bell notification down there as well. I'm on every day. Every day I come out here and I tell you guys what's happening in the future. I do. Every day I come on here and I tell everyone what's happening in the future. And if you don't believe me, go back and check my videos. Go back and check my videos. In 2024, I was telling people that March 2026 was going to be the month. Right. You guys on TikTok, I'm going to be closing you guys down in less than 1 minute. So, Kinder Snowdrops, Kate Officer, Nikki someone, Rosin. I hope you all jump over to YouTube and continue the party because I'm going to still be on YouTube, and I've just realized I've got half a bottle of cider over there, so I'm going to be taking that half bottle of cider. But I will be closing you guys down on TikTok shortly. Right, let me jump on. Eyeball Paul, what he's saying? Russia sees this as an existential threat. Lavrov said, and I quote, "What's the use of having Earth if Russia isn't in it? This is how serious this is for Russia. Yes, I agree. And you know what? I'm gonna explain more what that actually means, because there's a lot more to unpack if you understand that culture, if you understand Russian culture, if you understand Slavic culture. There's a lot more to understand, to unpack with that phrase. What is it? What's the use of having Earth if Russia isn't in it? What they're talking about is the opposition of power, basically, the mutually assured destruction. What they're talking about is, and you guys are going right now before I talk about this, because I'll probably get myself banned. So I am going to close you guys down on TikTok now, like I said, in a minute. And if you're jumping over to YouTube, absolutely fine. The chat is open. Yes, it is. The chat's open. And I hope to see you there. If not, I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10. So, dobra noche. Okay, so what Lavrov is Sergei Lavrov is talking about there is this opposition of power and this mutual opposition. So what he's saying basically is, if the United States gets too powerful without no opposition, they will become a tyranny and the world will be in tyranny. Likewise, if Russia becomes too powerful, so you have to have an equal and opposite force, right? You have to have the yin for the yang. You have to have the opposing forces. So rather than one world government, which would be bad because it would just be it would just turn into a tyrannical. Now you've got these two world forces, East versus West, Oceania versus Eurasia, which I do think, right, the camera's well out of focus, isn't it? Let me try and clean it. It may need a little clean. Give me a second. I don't know if that made any difference. Eyeball Paul is saying Trump is dismantling the New World Order as we speak. I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I love Trump. I think he's great, and I'm Team America. I'm absolutely Team America. I think Trump is doing what's right for America. I do. I think Trump's doing. Listen, we'll have to see. Right? Let's see. In 2030, here in the United Kingdom, if we're all living in 15-minute cities, if we're all eating bugs, if we all own nothing and we're like pretending to be happy, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think Trump is doing what's best for Slavic Gopnik. Yes, of course. I like Slavic Gopnik and very cheap alcohol. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. Yeah, let's just see. Let's just see what happens. All right. We're soon going to find out, right? We're soon going to find out. Chris is saying, if the USA is fighting Iran and Europe is fighting Russia, it's World War III. I don't know if the public in Europe and the USA will support it, was like they did in World War II, though. No, well, whether they support it or not, it's not going to matter. Because once you're in a war, the thing is, first of all, what do I always say? Once you're in a war, avoid wars at all costs. If you're in a war, you need to win it at all costs. I think that's fair. Once you're in that war and bad things start happening to your soldiers, you will fight it. You will fight it. This happened in Russia. Initially, the Russians were really against the invasion of Ukraine. After time, the Russians knew that if they didn't win, it would be an end to their way of life. So now the Russians reluctantly are behind the war, because that's just what happens. That's what happens in life. If somebody threatens your way of life, you're going to want to preserve it, right? Unless it's like rubber dinghies, then obviously, you don't want to preserve it. You want to welcome them in, give them everything, and just accept your doom. Which brings me nicely on to the civil wars in the United Kingdom. Now, these are coming, guys. And, you know, the longer you guys follow me, we, we see these things unfold right in front of us. The civil wars in the United Kingdom, again, they're not going to be civil wars in the classic context where you've got us versus them. We've already seen it unfold. It's unfolding right now. It is. Do you know what? If you guys weren't on earlier, there was right. Googly knows. Hang on, let me get Googly's comment back up. So, convicted terrorist standing in Birmingham election. I'm not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. We now have convicted terrorists standing for. We have convicted terrorists standing for election in the United Kingdom. No, I'm not making that up. I'm going to share this with you now. I'm absolutely not making this up. I promise you. Convicted terrorist standing in Birmingham election to unite Sparkhill. Now, that's the guy there, a Birmingham Muslim activist who was jailed for his part in an armed terror plot, is seeking election. I mean, we're dumb. We're doomed. We are doomed. So tell me what dynamics you think are going to happen there in Birmingham. So I get, look, guys, you know how I just said earlier that I feel like I'm tapping into some sort of cosmic energy? You know, I said it just then, but I'm like, I said it just then, but now I'm thinking about it. I may be actually tapping into some cosmic energy. Because can you remember a while back when I said to you guys, I gave you guys the scenario that what if the mayor of a large city in the United Kingdom did something so bad and it was proven beyond reasonable doubt that he was guilty, but the mayor stood for election again and people voted for him again and he got in. That just means basically that crime in that city is legal. And people don't understand this, right? People don't understand this. We have a convicted terrorist standing for election in the United Kingdom. Tell me we're not done. And look, I get a lot of stuff on the chat. Sean, you're a defeatist. Sean, you're not, you're not this, you're not. I'm telling you guys what's coming. Yeah, we're England. We're going to stand together. We'll never be defeated. Yeah, come on. What's that going to achieve? Do I want England to win the World Cup? Yes. Do I think they're going to? No. Do I want England Great Britain to fall into a state of civil war uncontrollably? 23,000 deaths every year, 2.1 million deaths in total? No, absolutely not. Do I think that's the most likely outcome? Yes. And I'm not making these things up. I'm giving you guys real-time analysis, and I'm telling you guys the reasons why. Right, let me go and get this cider. Where is it? I don't even have a glass. I ran out of alcohol, and I don't even have a glass. I might have to drink it out of the bottle. I've got a glass. Yeah, you're right. Eyeball Paul is saying all this has happened because people wanted to call everybody far right. I can't say that word or the video will get banned. Shut down debate on the issue. Now it's too late. It is, guys. It's too late. So look, My advice to everybody right now, my advice to everybody is think about yourself. Think about yourself. Think about your family. Think about what you have got, what you can hide, what you can squirrel away, what you can hide under your bed. Like, that's my advice to everybody right now. Mad Jack is saying votes don't work, protests don't work, but the sword does work. We just need a strong leader. The more I look at Rupert Lowe, honestly, the more I look at Rupert Lowe, like, for me, I don't know what you guys feel. I think I'm going to do a video just titled Rupert Lowe tomorrow. In fact, yeah, I am. I'm definitely going to do that. I've never met Rupert. I've never met him. He might be a total swizzler. He might be a total con man. I've never met him. But my perception of that guy is that he's absolutely fantastic. He's absolutely, that's my perception. I think I'm going to do a standalone video about that tomorrow. Band again is saying, if all the English move to Scotland, the Jocks might get a good football team. Do you know what? I watched, there was like a football game recently, right? And you had all these men, you know, real tough men, real big men. Roar! United! You know, and they wanted to fight with the other team. You know, they wanted to fight with the other team and show them who was boss. I was thinking, like, where were you guys when girls were getting, like, groomed? Like, where were you guys when your daughters were getting attacked? Like, where were you guys when, like, all that sort of stuff was happening? And it really just, honestly, it's, like, fascinating for me to watch. Mad Jack is jumping up again. Listen, Mad Jack, I don't know if Mad Jack's inebriated, but Mad Jack is jumping up with some fantastic comments. Mad Jack is saying January 2025, Reform leader Nigel Farage indicated a change in stance regarding Shamina Begum, the British-born woman who traveled to Syria to join Islamic State. I've met Nigel, right? I've met Nigel, and I will be clear. I've only met him once. I'm not in any WhatsApp groups with him. I don't, like, you know, I could probably phone a friend to get a message to Nigel if I wanted to. But my initial, and I'll always go by this, and I'll never change my mind. My initial thoughts of Nigel was he was a genuine guy. He was very intelligent, very articulate, and he could a very good communicator to everybody. Like, very good, like, because was in Doncaster, and, like, there was a thing, I can't remember why. It was when I was standing as I don't know if all you guys know this, but I was standing at the last election as a member for Reform. I resigned because there was a lot of things happening in Reform UK Party. I just didn't want to be a part of it. I looked at it and I said, right, I don't want to be part of this shit show, right? That's what I literally said. That I said, look, thank you very much, but the way you've treated me, and I'm not going to say what happened. Thank you very much, but if things are happening like this now, I don't want to be involved. I'm very good, thank you. I'm gonna tap out. You know, peace out. I'm gonna tap out. So. And it was one of those events where I met Nigel. And, you know, he was talking to everybody. There was a lot of people just wanting pictures and saying thank you to him for what he's done. And but there was also, you know, people like myself who had very particular, I have a very particular skill set. You know, and he could, you know, he was asking me very interesting questions on the stuff I knew. So straight up, I mean, look, maybe that's why I think he's real smart, because maybe he just knows something. Maybe he's just in that industry himself. But he was asking me very particular question. I can't tell you what he was asking me, right? But you know how, if you work on, if you're a plumber, right? If you're a plumber, I'm just trying to make this up. If you're a plumber or a carpenter and somebody asks you a very specific question and there's only one reason that they would ask that question, you're like, okay, why are you asking that? You know, because it's not a question you would normally ask. So, you know. Sharon Owen, yeah, back in the day, I remember when you go, yeah, I paid for those boxes myself, Sharon. That was 1,200 quid I paid for those boxes of leaflets. 1,200 quid. 1,200 quid I paid for them. Sean, would love to see you on the Laura Koonsberg show. Who's Laura Koonsberg? I don't know who she is. Who's Laura Koonsberg? Sean, what did Nigel ask? I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you what he asked, because if I tell you what he asked, you guys aren't going to know what I do, what my day job is. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go. Let's go right back to the beginning. Let's bring it on down one time, fam. You feeling my love? You feeling the love? Because I'm feeling your love. Skull to the end of the world. Skull to the end of the world, ladies and gentlemen. Skull. Skull to the end of the world. Yes, skull. So, right, we are talking about the end of the world because it is the end of the world as we know it. The power shift, everything's changing. Everything that we know is changing. Absolutely everything. Right now, there is a massive armada on its way to Iran. We've got World War III looming. We've got the Ukraine war. We've got civil war. All these things are real. All these things are happening. And I've been telling you guys about them. I have. Literally, go through my videos on YouTube. Even before Donald Trump was elected, I was saying that there was going to be a Trump, well, Trump's not leading it, right? Trump's not leading it. Donald Trump was going to go into Iran March 2026. Don't believe me? Fine. Think I'm waffling. Literally, the title of the video was US Boots on the Ground March 2026. I think I got like 6 views. I think I got like 6 views on that video. So, you know, but look, I'm doing this because I feel like it's my duty to let people know what's coming, because we are going to be fighting 2 conflicts. There's going to be the internal conflict in the United Kingdom. And look, how can this not be a thing? I'm going to share this again, actually. I'm going to share this again. We now have convicted terrorists in the United Kingdom standing for elected positions. Nope, not making it up, guys. That's from Birmingham Live. Convicted terrorist standing in Birmingham election. What's that guy? Akub? What's his name? Akub? I bet he's going to be there. Remember, for every offense, there's a defense. I think he's quite funny. Honestly, I'd probably get on with him. I would. I think I'd get on with him, and I think he'd be very respectful to me, because he'd absolutely respect me. He would see me. I mean, I've seen him on the running machine. I've seen him on the running machine walking at like number 6, out of breath with his little belly. And I'm like, yeah, you can't give it the big one that much, mate. You know, at some point you keep talking the talk. Somebody's going to ask you to walk the walk. And his walking the walk's not very walkity walk. So as we sit here, ladies and gentlemen, just hours ago, DJT posted on his Truth Social. And isn't that a genius thing as well? So now he's got a competitor to, honestly, like, whatever. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Listen, we are witnessing in real time the end of the world. The end of the world as we know it. If you don't think so, if you don't think, let's just say Britain, right? If you don't think Britain's at an end, or we're going to have a new Britain, a new, more diverse Britain, tell me how we're going to stop migration. And if we don't stop migration, what does that mean? Because there's no runoff. So just hours ago, ladies and gentlemen, DJT on his Truth Social platform said that a massive armada led by the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. Has anybody watched that movie, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer? We live in quite an old house and it's quite creepy. So as a rule, we don't watch scary films. But I watched that movie, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Slayer, and I just thought, oh, it's going to be, a little bit of a laugh, a little bit, a bit like Frankenstein. There's Frankenstein, and what's the other one? Mansell and is it Mansell? The two brothers Mansell, the Germans. Is it Mansell and Hansel and Gretel? Hansel and Gretel. Mansell. I thought it was going to be a little bit like that. Jesus, there's this opening scene, right, where there's this little boy in bed and he's just terrifying. Don't watch it, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, don't watch scary films. They're bad for you. Anyway, massive armada led by the United States aircraft carrier, US Abraham Lincoln, and bigger than the one he sent to Venezuela, is steaming towards the region, moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. He's warning Tehran, come to the table for a deal, no nuclear weapons, or the next attack will be far worse than what happened back in June 2025 under Operation Midnight Hammer. Hammer time. Which was obviously the US-led strikes that they did fantastic. I'm not convinced on how effective they were, but just the fact that they managed to get the B-2 bombers that distance, it's, you can't take anything away from the US Air Force. What I am taking away, I'm not taking anything away from the US Air Force. What I'm just stating is physics, all right? There's a lot of things that could go wrong with those munitions. Trump was saying that time is running out and the fleet is ready to act with speed and violence if necessary. And honestly, I'm pretty sure at this point, Donald Trump's one of the user 1598226s on here, and he's asking me questions. Where is the US aircraft carrier and the French? Something's going down and it ain't with Starmer in China. Where is the UK aircraft carriers and the French? So look, the United Kingdom and France are not going to get involved in the Middle East. They're not going to get involved in the Middle East. Well, do you know what they may do? I don't think they are. But I would speculate they are not going to get involved in the Middle East, because what would happen? Okay, if France get involved actively in the Middle East, what do you think is going to happen with all the French Muslims? All those Muslims who are just as French, as everybody else because they've got a little passport. And what do you think would happen in the United Kingdom with all the beautiful Muslims that we have in this country who are just as British as me? Honestly, doesn't matter. Look, guys, as far as you can trace I come from French heritage. My family came to the United Kingdom in the 11th century. We were boat migrants and we settled in North Yorkshire. Now, I get it, we're boat migrants, and Mohammed and Abdul, they're also boat migrants, and they've got a British, so we're all the same, as far as I'm concerned, we're all the same, we are absolutely the same, just as British, But what I'm saying is, with all the boat migrants and the Muslims that we have in the hotels and the Iranians and the Syrians and the Kurdish, what do you guys think would happen if there were airstrikes from overt airstrikes from British aircraft carriers in the region? That Muslim population in the United Kingdom would go absolutely bonkers. They would. They go bonkers. They go. Look. It doesn't take much to make them go bonkers. Mr. Mystery is saying strong French genes. I like to think of them as Viking genes. I think I'm like some descent. You can only trace your lineage so far. But I like to think I'm descended from like French Vikings. You know how the Vikings went down into to France in the 800s? They conquered most of France, most of Paris. I like to think I'm from them French, not the cheesy in French, not the cheesy. Look, I'm Team GB. I'm Team GB, right? I'm not Team France. But what I will say is when I went to France, was it this month? Last month? I don't know. When I went to France, my opinion of the French had totally changed, absolutely changed. They're just not, everybody's normal people, right? Everybody's normal people just trying to live their lives. That is what well, maybe not 99%. That's what most people want to do. They want to live their lives. They want to look after their children. They want to go to the park, and they want to live without fear. Unfortunately, we have certain religions who just want to dominate. Like, I was watching this. What's this guy? Is it Muhammad Hijab? Is it Muhammad Hijab, or am I just making that up? I think I'm just making that up. It might be like Muhammad Hijab or something. I don't know. He's like the big guy who's always threatening people. I was listening to like one of his speeches, and he was saying, the enemy. You have to do this to the enemy, to the kafir. And I'm thinking, oh, so I'm your enemy, but I don't see you as my enemy. So, oh, hang on a minute. So what is, like, why am I your enemy? I'd love to ask him. Honestly, I'd love to ask like one of these Muslim scholars. So, he's saying, oh yes, the kafir, this. I'm like, okay, so how come I am your enemy, but you're not my enemy? Like, go pray for, I don't care. Go pray 5 times a day. Go pray 6 times a day if you want, Why am I your enemy? What have I done? Like, what have I done to you? Why am I your enemy? Why am I your enemy? And why are you not my enemy? I don't know. I'd really like to ask that deep philosophical question, because I've lived in the Middle East. I lived in Baghdad for quite a while, on Al-Kindi Street, various places, but mostly on Al-Kindi Street. Fantastic cakes. There was this restaurant, this like bar. It wasn't a bar, like a restaurant. Do you know what? I think they did sell alcohol. I'm calling BS to some of these Islamic countries. They pretend they don't sell alcohol, but they really do. So there was this. Do you know what? Let me try and find it. Give me 30 seconds to try and find this on Google Maps. I've never done this before. Al-Kindi Street. I'm just going to search this. Al-Kindi Street, Baghdad, guitar shop. Maps. Right, that's not going to work. Cake shop. Oh, hang on. No, hang on. Hang on, can I get right? I can't get Street View. Right, okay, right. I can't get Street View in Baghdad. Right, okay, of course I can't get Street View in Baghdad. Right, sorry. I thought I'd found it. Right, whatever. Right, I'm not going to give it more time. I could probably look for that for a while and try and find it. Bond again is saying, Sean, you haven't read the Quran. Obviously, says you'd know why, or no. Honestly, I don't know why. Okay, what I'm saying is, right, as a man, this guy, I think his name's Muhammad Hajib, or is it Hajib? I don't know. I don't know what this guy. Anyway, there's this guy, and he's saying that like people are their enemy, but I'm not their enemy. So as like a human being, right? As like a civilized human being, right? I don't need to read a book. Oh yeah, I've read this book. That means they're my enemy. I know that, like, I know what my enemy looks like. Well, I do now anyway. So it's just fascinating to me. It really is how when people go to, it's really difficult as well, because I've I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East, you know, and in Jordan, you know, absolutely in Jordan, you get Christians and Muslims living together with no problems, zero problems. Well, I've never seen any problems in there. You know, if you walk the streets of Amman at night, it's absolutely gorgeous. Guys, it's so beautiful. Like if you walk the streets, if you walk down Amman High Street, I don't know what it's called. But honestly, it's one of the most, it's like, I think the Middle East is beautiful. I do. I think the Middle East is beautiful. The architecture, the history, it's gorgeous. And in Amman, you literally have Christians and Muslims living together and like zero problems. Sean, they don't care about your questions. They'll stab you in the back given a chance. Oh. Ruben is saying you don't need to read the Quran. Just one page says it all. Surah 9, Talwaba. Right. Listen, Ruben, I'm not meaning disrespectful. I'm just going to try and Google. Look, I know you're going to be right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google this and then I'm going to share it with people. Okay. Just, you know, just so I know, just so everybody knows that we're not just making stuff up. So it'll take me a while because those are words I don't understand. Surah 9. Surah 9. Al-Tawbah. All right. Okay. There's a load of stuff. Hang on. Right. I'm going to have, right. Okay. Right. Let me try and find it. I mean, the whole thing's pretty brutal. Jesus. Right. I'm going to share this with you. I can't find so the text that I'm getting now is what Ruben's just put me on to. Look, I don't listen. I never know where we're going with this. So I'm going to share this. And I'm going to try and I'm going to try and I've sent it to your ex. I've sent it to your ex. Oh no. Right, I've got no messages on my ex. Right, I'll try. It might come through in a minute. Right, I'll try and share this with you guys now because I have got it here. Let me share this now. So Ruben's just sent this, told me to look at this, and I don't know what I'm looking at here. So I've just looked at this. So the source is. So this is from Quran.com. I'm assuming a polytheist there means the believers, people who believe in Muslim. You polytheists may travel freely through the land for 4 months. No, you've escaped from Allah. There's some quite dark stuff here. But if you turn away, know you will have no escape from Allah and give good news or profit. Oh, God. Disbelievers of a painful punishment. But once the sacred months have passed, kill the polytheists who violated their treaties. Some crazy stuff on here. Why is it all about hurting people and killing? If anyone of polytheists like for your protection or profit. Right, this whole text is huge, guys. This whole text is huge. And it's got quite a lot of dark stuff in it. Will you not fight those who have broken their oaths, conspired to expel the messenger from Mecca? Do you know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like a cult. It does. This sounds like Scientology. If you leave, we will hunt you down. You know, this really does sound like a cult. Right. This is a massive text, guys. I'm not going to go down it. I'm not going to go down. I'm definitely not going to go down it all. I've never read that. I may at some point try and like have a go through it and try and find those. Hang on, let me. Right, let me try this another way. I will. Right, let me try and find this. Let me try and find this. Right, where's Ruben's other comment? I think it. Let me go up. No, I've definitely gone past Ruben's comments. All right, hang on. Right, let me. Right, so look, I'm getting a lot of things here, but most of it is like, right. I mean, so the Al Tabwaka or whatever it's called contains 129 verses, so it's gonna be a nightmare for me to try and read that. And I'm just not going to do that. But you know, Ruben, if once I get that, I promise I will talk about that tomorrow. I absolutely will. Because that kind of makes me sad. It really does. And I'm not saying it's not true. You know, I'm not saying it's not true. But if that is the case, where people are being told that there's no such thing as peaceful in that, like, can't we just all come together and build spaceships? Can't we just do that? Really? Like, wouldn't that be better if we just all built spaceships together? You know, you can go pray 5 times a day in your spaceship. You know, you can go pray 5 times a day in your spaceship. Probably made in a Western country, but whatever. You know, wouldn't that just be better? No way. Lisa Jane is saying, Sean, breaking news. Plane missing in Venezuela. Oh, I hope it's not a mate. I've got a friend in Venezuela right now. Is it what kind of passenger plane? Oh, God, I hope this is not my mates. We're supposed to be doing a podcast, right? Honestly, right? If this is my mate's plane in Venezuela, we're supposed to be doing a podcast together. We're supposed to be starting a podcast in, I think, April. We said we're going to make a podcast together. Now we're arguing on the name. I want it to be called The Ranger from the North, but he's saying, yeah, but that's you. I'm saying, yeah, but mate, like, I want to do this. So I hope that's not my friend. Right, Lisa Jane, let me look at this. Oh, God. Right, so I'm just gonna put this up. This is Al Jazeera, right? This is the first thing that came up. I'm not saying that it's accurate or anything. I'm just saying this is the first one that came up. So Colombian lawmaker among 15 missing in plane disappearance. I've got a text. Let me text my friend. Sorry. I'm just going to text him now. Give me a second. I hope he responds. Right, I'm just going to give me a second. I'm going to take a picture of the thing. No, well, he's received it anyway, so his phone's still on. Right, I hope he responds to me. So, Colombian lawmaker among 15 missing in plane disappearance. Plane vanished in remote jungle near the. Oh God, he would be there as well. Jesus Christ, he would be there as well. Oh God. Fuck's sakes. Oh, God. Colombian lawmaker among. God, he was going to Colombia as well. Colombian lawmaker among 15 missing in plane disappearance. Honestly, plane vanishes in remote jungle near the eastern border with Venezuela. I don't think he would be. I think he'd be driving, to be honest. But what? I don't know. I hope he responds. Plane vanished in remote jungle area near the eastern border with Venezuela. Search hindered by dense terrain and adverse weather. Bogota, Colombia, search and rescue teams in Colombia are searching for a passenger plane carrying 15 passengers that went missing near the eastern. That's all we know, guys. That is literally all we know. 2 crew members were among the passengers, include, yeah, of course, they were crew members. Colombian congressional representative and a candidate running for the upcoming elections. Okay, might not be right. I don't think it's his plane. It remains unclear what caused the disappearance, but local Air Force controllers said the plane's flight history shows a sudden altitude drop 11 minutes before it was expected to land. Okay, so what I'm getting from there is, okay, you can't find this on the internet. You can't find, what I'm going to tell you now, you can't find anywhere. And obviously, this is for entertainment purposes. The law and order in Venezuela has just gone. It's just gone crazy. It's absolutely lawless at the moment. There are people chasing people, and there are rival factions, and people are doing bad things to each other. So, you know, you won't find that anywhere, but I've got a friend who's, well, he's in Venezuela right now, and he should be, I don't think he's ready to leave yet. I think he should be leaving next month. But what I'm taking from this is this could be some sort of explosion, some sort of grenade, some sort of bomb. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because of the political personnel on board. But obviously we'll get more as that comes out. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hang on. Cindy Orchard 3 is saying maybe they used energy weapons to jam the signal. Well, the airplane that they were using, that type of aircraft, even if you jam their signal, you can only really jam the GPS, which still gives them flight. And at that, it's not a high altitude jet, it's got a propeller. So at that altitude that they'll be flying, they will still be able to see ground signals, right? They'll be still ground signals. They'll still be able to see visual references. Sorry, not ground signals. That's something totally different. They'll still be able to see visual references on the ground. So they will still be able to navigate, and they wouldn't have crashed. So I don't know where that goes. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are fantastic, beautiful, articulate, intelligent. And that's just me. That's just me. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys, really. Welcome to the end of the world, because there's no denying the world has changed. The world is changing, and there's no going back. That's the thing about change, ladies and gentlemen. There's no going back. We're in a crucible right now. I don't know what's going to come out of that crucible, but what I do know is that there is a massive armada heading towards Iran right now. Donald Trump is threatening violence. World War III is looming. We have the conflict in Ukraine driving forwards every day. The Russian soldiers moving forwards every day. And look, guys, visualize this. So the next time I put the map on, the war map? The next time I put the war map on and I show you guys what's happening in Ukraine and the Russians are moving forwards every day, consider that every meter, every kilometer, every mile that the Russians move forwards, that's a mile, a meter, whatever. That is a little bit closer to British boots on the ground. And when British boots are on the ground, that is going to bring us closer to military conscription in the United Kingdom. So that's where I'm going to leave it now, ladies and gentlemen. We've also touched about the civil conflicts in the United Kingdom. We actually have convicted terrorists in the United Kingdom now running for elected spots. I actually warned of this. As wild as it sounds, I warned of this months ago. It seems like I should start warning about space exploration, shouldn't I? Because that seems that I would much prefer. Wouldn't everybody much prefer space exploration? Right, ladies and gentlemen, I am closing this, guys. Now, you guys have been fantastic as always. I'll be back on tomorrow morning. I will, guys. I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10. Because I'm going to the gym in the mornings now. I've started going to the gym in the mornings. Do you know what? I should probably talk about this a little bit more. I've always shied away from doing fitness in the mornings because when I was in the military, it was like absolutely rammed down your throat. But honestly, doing it myself now, I feel so much better for really doing that fitness in the morning and doing that high intensity cardio, just absolutely blasting it because you're on the time. I've got to get back for the live stream, so I need to be back for past. I just feel so much better for doing that fitness in the morning. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good evening. I'll see you tomorrow at 10.